Hello everyone, it's me again with another video. This week we are moving on to a speech writing task. So it's yet another paper 2 question 5 task, but the form in which we are operating has changed. We're writing a speech. And so this video really is going to feel very similar to last week's in lots of ways, particularly in terms of using that structure that we have printed in our exam preparation booklets, where we follow quite a strict structure and way of patterning and organizing, and of course, planning our response out. So we'll be going through how we can generate ideas, come up with arguments, how we can organize those arguments into a coherent structure, and then, of course, how we can write a really effective piece of transactional writing. Okay, so the task, here it is. Fast fashion is built on exploitation, with workers suffering in inhumane conditions, while big brands, so we're thinking of big multinational companies, make billions, huge sums of money. We must take a stand against this injustice and demand ethical change. Write a speech. Okay, so there's a form. We're writing a speech, not a letter or an essay or an article, but it's a speech to the government. So it's already beginning to think about formality and seriousness. And again, like last week, writing to our MP, government is in a position of power. They are in power, and therefore they are able to affect change. They're able to produce change by changing laws and so on. So write a speech to the government expressing your viewpoint on fast fashion. Now, some of the words really kind of leap out at me in that task, in that first part. We've got obviously fast fashion. So we're thinking, okay, well, what on earth is fast fashion? We need to know that. But we've got lots and lots of words that are really loaded, quite emotive words, very emotive words, we might say. Words like exploitation, the idea of people experiencing inhumane conditions. We're thinking of big brands. So we're thinking about power, billions. We're thinking about wealth. Okay, and the way in which certain companies and corporations make huge sums of money off the backs of those actually producing in this case, the fast fashion, the articles of clothing, many of which we will find out end up in landfill, end up being disposed after they've been worn once or twice. And then we've got that call at the end there for ethical change, that idea that changes that we are demanding, changes to tackle fast fashion and the negative outcomes and consequences of fast fashion, there's a call for ethical change. So it's a language of ethics, of morality, of right and wrong. This is a moral wrong that needs to be challenged. That's what the task is getting us to think about. And that sort of ethical language, that moral language needs to be in our response, I'd argue. Okay, so our viewpoint, it's got to be clear, it's got to be consistent. We're not exploring, we're not like, on the one hand, some people think fast fashion's good, some people think fast fashion is bad, and we're going to kind of just explore that. No, we're arguing, okay? So there is that sort of rhetorical thrust to what we are doing. We want the government to act following our speech. Obviously, this is all hypothetical for the purposes of writing in an exam, but that's what the task is asking us to do. We're arguing, so it's got to have that rhetorical force, that punch, that drive. Not only do we think fast fashion we're going to argue it's bad, we need to be clear about why it's bad, why it's a problem, what the negative consequences are of fast fashion, but what on earth do we want the government to do about it? So, pause. We're not writing yet. We've got to be thinking, okay, fast fashion, what's the problem with it? Why does fast fashion exist? So what is it? Why is it a problem? Why does it exist? Who benefits from fast fashion? Who doesn't benefit? Who actually suffers as a result of fast fashion? And then what realistically could we do about it? Now, if you're sat there thinking, Mr. Boff keeps using the phrase fast fashion and I have no idea what that is, what on earth is fast fashion? What can we do about it? Well, I'm going to share across all of the Year 11 classes an episode of Today in Focus. This isn't the worldwide podcast, but it goes to show how useful Today in Focus is. I just literally went on Google, typed in Today in Focus, fast fashion. First episode, there's so many episodes. It's a daily podcast. There's 5 a week, Monday to Friday. There's almost always going to be an episode on the sorts of topics that they give you in the exam. This one being fast fashion. Look, there it is. Sheen or Shein, depending on how you want to pronounce it, and the rise of ultra fast fashion. And in about 25, 30 minutes, I think it is, it gives you so much information about fast fashion, why it's a problem, who benefits, who suffers, the rise of fast fashion, how people are challenging it, why people are turning away from it, okay, what governments can be doing, what governments aren't around the world, what governments aren't doing, what they should be doing, all of that in a neat little audio package. So I'll share this obviously on Google Classroom with you all. Okay, so in short, okay, yes, I would strongly, strongly suggest you listen to the podcast, but in short, fast fashion, really cheap, super cheap, mass produced. We're not talking about, like artisanal produced, one at a time, someone knitting a jumper. Okay, this is like churned out in industrial quantities. It's driven by trends, but trends that are super short lived. And then once that trend is over and it's therefore considered unfashionable to wear an item of clothing, we've got like these hyper short trends that, kind of blow up on social media and are gone within, a month or something. And it's kind of embarrassing to be seen in it again. Those clothing items are quickly discarded. At best, they're stuck on Vinted. At worst, and this is what happens, they get binned. Okay. And also because the clothing is so cheap, it's often very, very low quality, so it doesn't really last. Like you buy the t-shirt, you wear it, you put it in the wash, it doesn't wash well, it shrinks even though you follow the instructions, and you go, oh, I can't wear that now, in the bin it goes, and then it's going to end up in landfill, and that is such an enormous waste of human resources, or of natural resources, human resources as well, all the people that have manufactured it, and then it just ends up in the bin. Okay, so it's a real waste and comes with all sorts of negative consequences. Okay, who benefits, who suffers? Right, big brands. The big brands make loads of money out of fast fashion. Okay, it's cheap, relatively low quality, affordable clothing. People can feel fashionable even if they don't have the money to be obviously buying really high-end brands. Okay, those big brands make a lot of money out of fast fashion. Who suffers? The garment workers, the people actually manufacturing the clothes that you might be wearing if you're into fast fashion. The garment workers paid a pittance, and therefore they're suffering. They're being exploited, working extremely hard in kind of sweatshop conditions. They're the ones who are suffering. They're not the ones earning all of the money. Okay, who benefits? Shareholders, okay? People who own shares, who own parts of those big brands, those big companies. Who suffers? Children and families, particularly, obviously, the children and the families. We're talking about the garment workers. Who benefits? Consumers. Get to look fashionable, cheap clothes. What's not to like? What suffers? Well, the environment, okay? The waste of natural resources, huge amounts of pollution, massive use of water, and also obviously landfill, and then all sorts of issues relating to that. Where are we going to put all of these clothing products, many of which are actually made from synthetic fibers that aren't biodegradable, they don't rot away naturally, they're going to last for huge amounts of time, probably longer than the person who bought the item of clothing in the first place, and the environment suffers with huge amounts of essentially clothing pollution. Okay, two big ideas. We're not writing 5 big ideas, 10 big ideas. We just need 2 big ideas. We've got only 45 minutes in total for this section of the exam. We've not got ages. So, first big idea. I'm going to give you the big idea based on that podcast. Fast fashion depends on exploited low-paid labor. Not many people are going to be able to argue against that. Number 2, fast fashion is environmentally destructive for reasons I'll outline in a moment and fuels what I would call disposable consumerism, buying stuff, getting rid of it when you've used it once or twice. You might, and if you look at this online, it even has its own Wikipedia entry. It's sometimes called a throwaway society. Why should I try to fix this item of clothing? Why should I try to, take my shoes to the cobblers and have them resold? Why should I try to, like sew up a hole in a particular garment I've got? I'll just throw it away. I'll buy a new one, okay? Because it's so cheap. It's like almost disposable, like single-use clothing, something like that. Terrible. Okay, big idea 1, the human cost of fast fashion. So why is fast fashion wrong? It's wrong because it relies on exploited low-wage labor, workers paid absolute pittance, okay? We're talking pennies an hour, really unsafe factories, super long working hours. Often there are children working in these supply chains in poor parts of the world. So these big brands make loads of money off the back of the labor of working people in poor countries around the world. Okay, where you've got cheap labor, easily exploitable. Okay, often, not always, but often involving child labor too. Big idea too, fast fashion is unsustainable. We're thinking about environmental damage and the kind of disposable culture it promotes. Why is that a problem? We've got this waste of resources and encourages disposability rather than reusing and recycling. Making brand new clothing uses huge quantities of water and energy unnecessarily if that clothing is then used once and binned. Synthetic fabrics are made from fossil fuels. Okay, we've got to be pumping oil out of the ground. That's a problem. We want to be weaning ourselves as a species off fossil fuels as much as we can. Clothing worn a few times, then thrown away. So we've got this idea of landfill and also terrible ocean pollution. Just items of clothing that don't biodegrade, just floating around in our oceans. Okay, terrible for marine life. Not what we want to be doing to our precious, beautiful planet. So, I've got sentence scaffolds in the show notes or in the YouTube description. I'm going to give you the link to a PDF with sentence scaffolds. It's not really a great deal of point putting them in this video because they're very much in line with what we did last time and they follow the structure and plan as laid out in your exam prep booklet. But I just wanted to, at the end of this video, keep it short to summarize what we're doing. So what are we arguing? In summary, in short, fast fashion, it's unethical. It's kind of morally wrong because it necessarily relies to keep the price down for the consumer. Okay, you go and buy a t-shirt for £3. It relies on exploited, low-paid labor. The only reason why the t-shirt is £3 and why the company that's selling you that t-shirt can make profit is because they're paying the people that made that t-shirt an absolute pittance. It's also environmentally unsustainable. It's a waste of our natural resources, which are finite. They're not infinite. Okay, we've got one world. We've not got an infinite amount of resources on this world, so we need to be looking after those precious resources that have been provided to us. And it promotes a sort of disposable, throwaway society consumerism. Okay? How do we think before we write? So what's the problem? Well, fast fashion laid out the problem for you. Who benefits, but also who suffers, who pays the price. By who pays the price, I don't mean the price of the clothing. I mean who's on the kind of receiving end, who's suffering in this interaction, in this system. Anticipate the opposing view, then challenge it. Turn problems into realistic government solutions. Okay, so we've got some realistic solutions that I provided for you. Okay, what are the solutions? What can we do about this? Okay, and then how do we structure our response? Okay, the realistic government solutions are all there in the sentence scaffolds. You'll see that when we come to it. How do we structure our response? Follow the structure given in the exam prep booklet. What do examiners want? Clear, consistent viewpoint, developed ideas. We've only got 2 big ideas, but they're going to be really hyper developed because of the scaffolding that I'll give you. It's in the YouTube description in the show notes. We want that balance of evidence and statistics with emotion. You can get that balance if you listen to the Today in Focus episode. It's brilliant. And then we want solutions, not just criticism. Of course, we're not just going, oh, isn't fast fashion bad? We're saying why it's bad and what we can do about it. Okay, under 15 minutes this video. Make sure you use the sentence scaffolds. They're going to make your life a lot easier. Combine that by listening to the episode because that episode of Today in Focus is brilliant on giving you just a great understanding of the topic. And it touches on lots of other issues in terms of consumerism. And who knows what's going to come up in paper 2, question 5. May well be something to do with consumerism, like recycling, how we look after our planet, environmentalism, might be all those sorts of ideas. And all of those concepts and ideas are touched on in that episode of Today in Focus. All right, so enjoy. Look forward to reading your responses. See you on the next one.